Active citizenship is its own unit. It's the first bit in your exam. However, all the things that come up in active citizenship can come up in any of the 4 modules. So very often you might get questions in Life in Modern Britain, an 8-mark question on the usefulness of petitions for campaigning or pressure groups, or basically for any of the units they can ask you that. So it's really important you know the core issues to do with active citizenship inside and out. Active citizenship really relates to our British value of democracy, and you need to know ways that you can be an active citizen. The main one is by voting. So at 18 years old, you are allowed to choose who runs this country. That's a massive responsibility. We could have arguments about the age you're allowed to vote at, so shouldn't you guys be allowed to be able to vote? And actually, that would make the country far more democratic if 16-year-olds could vote. Also, the responsibilities of voting. Why don't we allow prisoners to vote? Surely that's another way to make it more democratic. Should we make voting compulsory, or is that actually infringing on our democracy? Should we make it you have to take a test to prove that you are a capable citizen and responsible enough to vote before you vote, or would that put people off voting? The other thing you can do is sign petitions. Even you guys can do that, even though you're not allowed to vote. You can lobby your MP, you can go to their office, email them, or even go to the Houses of Parliament and campaign to them. You could stand as a local councillor or an MP yourself, which is actually a really important part of being in a democracy. The fact that to lead this country, you don't have to have been born into that position, and that everyday citizens are able to campaign and put themselves in those power-making positions. You could also join a political party yourself. That means that you can campaign for them, but also you get a say on the issues they should be looking at. You get a say on who should be the leader of that political party, and so on. You could even join or start your own pressure group, and that way you'd be influencing campaigns, getting people to support you, and could influence changes in society. So what factors affect how successful our campaigning is? One of the main ones, unfortunately, is funds. It all comes down to money. If your campaign has got money, you can afford to advertise, you can afford for members to have time off work to actually go and work for your campaign. You can pay people to actually campaign for you full time. For example, trade unions, we pay money to our trade unions. So when we go on our protest marches, we've got really high quality boards, posters, t-shirts, whistles. You also get people working for them full time, and you also get people who can spend their time campaigning on a full-time basis. Celebrity endorsement. If you've got a celebrity on your side, you are going to get more publicity. So Jamie Oliver and his campaign for healthier school dinners, Marcus Rashford and his campaign for free school meals. It's all about school meals. Whenever you have got a personality, a TV personality, somebody who is famous on your side, you get that immediate media reaction, which is always going to gain more followers. And then causes. What is it you actually want? Is it something people care about? Are your aims clear? So, for example, the Million Mask March, when they went on their march from Anonymous, they didn't actually tell anybody what their aims were. Nobody knew what they were campaigning for. So you've got to have clear aims, and it's got to be a cause people care about. If it's something to do with children's health, people are always going to be interested. If we look at our key terms, then advocacy. This means publicly supporting and promoting a cause or policy. So when you guys did your campaigning, you were advocating a cause. A pressure group is a group who are not put up for election, but they protest to get something changed. So if we have a look at the methods of protest then, a petition. Petitions are brilliant because they show the amount of support for a certain cause. You can gain loads of signatures showing support. So if we look at something like Save the Seven Cornfields in Sedgley, that's been a handwritten petition. The problem is with them is that they can be time consuming, and it doesn't actually give you any real information. People can fake signatures on a piece of paper as well, so there is an issue with that. E-petitions are far more widely used. These can be shared across the internet to millions of people. So, for example, a petition that gets over 100,000 signatures is usually discussed in Parliament. So, for example, against the prorogation of Parliament, they can be discussed in Parliament and then laws can be changed. The problem is with these e-petitions then, they don't actually give us any qualitative data. All they tell us is numbers, which is quantitative data. They don't tell us any quality information, people's opinions. They can always just be ignored. Even if you get 100,000 signatures, I've put too many zeros on that one, they don't have to be debated in Parliament because we don't have a codified constitution. It's not written down that they have to be debated. So, for example, there was a petition that got 6 million signatures to revoke Brexit and it didn't get debated. Direct methods are things that gain publicity. So, for example, the actions of Fathers for Justice and the suffragettes, they can be illegal and dangerous. So, if they are things like climbing up the Houses of Parliament or abseiling over the M1, then they are illegal. You are going to get arrested and you're probably going to get negative press. They don't have to be illegal then, so it could be mass protest marches, and as long as they've been organised with the council and they are safe and safety measures are in place, then they will get lots and lots of attention, which is brilliant for your cause. You can write or email to your MP. You can add lots of detail into it and explain your campaigning. So this is lobbying. They can speak on your behalf in Parliament, which means you could be responsible for getting policy changes. However, your MP can ignore it. They might not agree with your point of view. And remember, your MP represents on average 70,000 constituents. They can't possibly go and make debates in Parliament for every single one. The next one is a strike. This has got huge publicity. It puts lots of pressures on bosses. So teachers, junior doctors, when they go on strike, it puts pressure on the rest of society. That could actually, though, affect the general public negatively more than just the people you are trying to hurt. If you stand for election, you will be making the changes yourself. You can be the one making changes to policy. And again, it's a huge part of democracy that we're allowed to do that. However, you might not get voted in, and then you might have given up a job to put yourself up for election, and now you're stuck. Leafleting means that you can spread lots of in-depth information in detail. They can be posted through people's doors, but then the bad thing is people can just ignore them. So if we have a look at some campaigns, then some local successful campaigns, say the Seven Stars pub in Sedgley, it got lots of businesses involved and the MPs, there were petitions, newspapers were involved and money raised too. It was a cause people cared about, the pub. An unsuccessful local campaign then would be Save Coseley Baths. There was a local petition, there was the campaign to Dudley Council and MPs were involved, but it wasn't about money. It was the fact that Coseley Baths was losing the council money, and again, unfortunately, money will always be the overriding factor. There was no direct action as well. If we look at national campaigns then, the campaign to legalise gay marriage, we know there are changing norms in society, and this was a long protest where people endeavoured to carry on campaigning. It concerns human rights, and other countries had done this before us. There was lots of support from MPs. Another successful national campaign then will be the plastic bags, and if you remember, this started off as individual action by Rebecca Hoskins, and she is a nature photographer, and she wanted to ban plastic bags just in her local town, so her local community agreed to it. They all stopped using plastic bags in her little village, and then this spread to the whole of the UK. Because of that now, people care about the environment, people saw that it could be done in this local community, and they took on this, and now plastic bags you have to pay for across the whole of the UK. Unsuccessful national campaigns then, we've got student fees. lots and lots of protest marches, but if you remember, there was some violence there, and people tend not to care about students, which isn't really very fair. We've also got Fathers for Justice. They use lots of direct action, lots of arrests, lots of illegal acts, and people tend to care more about single mothers rather than fathers wanting more time with their children. In contrast to the plastic bags, a community-led campaign that didn't succeed nationally will be the wind and solar farm in Westmill. And if you remember, we've looked at that in lesson, and this was a little village in Westmill where they decided to start using wind turbines and solar panels, and basically it started off with just a few people, and now the whole village of 4,000 people has got 100% renewable energy just from that one little town, which is brilliant. That's a really successful community endeavour. However, it's not spread to the rest of the UK, so it worked for the local community but not on a national level. Don't forget as well, citizens can hold those in power to account. So Gina Miller, she took Boris Johnson and the government to court over the prorogation of Parliament in 2019, and she won, and Parliament had to go back. The media can hold the government to account, if you remember the MP scandal. And they exposed the stories of MPs who were fraudulently gaining money. So in a democracy, we can hold those in power to account. Now we move on to your action, and 24 of the 40 marks are for your action. It's broken down into 5 sections, and you need to know each of your sections inside out. The first bit is your plan. What were your first ideas on what you were going to do and why? Why did you choose homelessness? Why was that such an important issue? And compare it to the other issues that you thought about. Why was your issue more important? Then you move on to your research. So what did you actually find out? Your research is really important. You need to know what research you've got. You need to know where it was from and how it was reliable. And also, how did it help to make your aims? So, for example, if you've got police statistics on your issue, they're robust, they are not opinions, they are pure facts. However, if you're doing police statistics on, say, knife crime, does that actually tell you any information as to why people get into knife crime? It doesn't give you subjective opinions. They also only represent crimes that have been recorded and reported, so not all crimes. It tells us nothing about why crimes took place. So you need to know for your research, are they reliable and why? So what evidence? Research might be named as evidence. What evidence have you gained and how has it helped you? If you have got information from a charity website, so say to do with homelessness, yes, it's going to be factual, it's from experts, so it's going to be reliable. However, is it exaggerating your point? Because obviously they want charity, they're a charity, they want you to give them money. Then you move on to your action. You need to know to start with, what are your aims? What do you actually want to achieve in your action? So for example, do you want to send a PowerPoint out to 1,000 pupils at Dormston School? Do you want to gain 50 signatures on your petition? Do you want to ensure that 100 people respond to your forms quiz? You have to have numerical statistical aims. With your action then, what did each person actually do? Where did you go? What action did you take? How many people did you reach? And then you move on to your results, where you measure the impact. How many homeless people did you actually feed? What percentage of homeless people is that? How many signatures did you get on your petition? You need to know actual facts that you can put into your statistics as your evidence. Then you move on to the evaluation. What did each person do? Did they all work to the best of their ability? Who didn't? Be honest. What as a group could you have done better? Did you have to change your plans and why? How did you overcome this? You don't lose any marks for that. So did you actually meet your aims on a local level? Did you meet your aims on a school level? What did you actually achieve? And on a wider level, did you do anything there? If you spread things on social media, that could be evidence for that. Overall, did you demonstrate being an active citizen? How and why? What difference did you make and what skills did you learn? Think about things like researching, think about questioning, standing up and promoting an issue, and so on and so forth. Remember, you need statistical evidence for every bit.